Hello and welcome to the No Ceilings podcast on the Turtlesmith Network. What's up, Vincent?
Hey, what's up, Courtney?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. How's your week been?
Man, it's been good. You see, we got our logo up here today.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I love it.
What do you think?
I think it's great. I think it's great.
I think it looks pretty good.
It's blending pretty well.
Yeah. They did a good job on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My week's been pretty good, though. Pretty productive and all that stuff, kid stuff and all of that. How about yourself?
Well, I am starting my locks journey. So this is new, and I'm just trying to figure out what to do with it every day.
Yeah.
I got to wear a do-rag now.
Yeah.
I know everybody's probably looking at me crazy.
Yeah.
My hair has been up in a bun, but that's
Mhm.
because I've been, preparing for that appointment. So
Okay.
got a little shrinkage, but
My son's doing all that lock journey stuff. I'm keep my hair cut. Old school type of guy.
I feel you. Well, I will say I'm interested to see what it's going to look like in the next several episodes. I think we probably have about 20 plus episodes remaining on these steps, and so we'll see how it evolves over time.
Exciting.
All right, well, today we are jumping into step 6.
Step 6 already, huh?
Concept development. Yes, sir.
Okay, we're moving right along.
And so concept development, when we watched Scott and John, they talked about what it takes to actually build a training manual. The end goal is to build a training manual. And so we just really want to kind of go through that just a little bit. We do have some examples that we like to go through. We're going to use the example that they used of the t-shirt business.
Okay.
And I think that we can just kind of talk through that a little bit, real casually, and just kind of throw out some questions, some tips, so that everybody kind of has the tools that they need. We'll talk about a few business struggles, and then we'll wrap it up with some actionable steps.
Absolutely. Sounds good to me.
So let me ask you this. So have you ever had to build a training manual for your business? And then I'm going to follow that up with, did you do it on the front end or did you do it on the back end?
So I wouldn't say I had to build it per se, but being a part of that process definitely came. I'll just use a corporate example. Came into a corporate job and nothing was built out. There was no set process for anything. So part of our job was to build out the training manual portion of the job. So I had the opportunity to do that.
Okay.
What about yourself?
So I'm going to go with my bail bond business that I had. So initially I did have to, I didn't have anything in place. I realized that I needed it once I started actually hiring people to come do the job. Well, when I was preparing to hire my office manager, I know she needed steps. I needed to lay out everything that I had in my head. I had to lay that out for her. So how to upload information into the Excel spreadsheets, how to upload information into the software systems that we had, how to write a receipt, take in money and write a receipt, just little stuff. Right. How to shut the office down, how to access her computer. I mean, just small things.
Things that you would kind of take for granted, but they're very important things that if you don't have a step-by-step, then it's easy for a person to miss a step, miss an ingredient, miss anything a part of the service.
Yeah, legit. All right, so in our example, the first thing that we want to do is identify key tasks and responsibilities. And so what you want to do is you want to break down each part of the day-to-day operations for your business. In this example, we are using the idea of having a t-shirt business. And so you want to make a list of all the important tasks. So in this particular example, we're going to design the t-shirts, handle customer orders, printing and packaging t-shirts, shipping and handling, managing inventory, updating the online store or social media, and then customer service and handling returns. So you want to lay all of that out and think about if it's not a t-shirt business, think about what equipment you need and how to utilize that equipment. If you have software systems, how to use those software systems. You want to list all of those things out. Once you list those things out, then you want to try to section them off. And then after you section them off, then you want to start laying out what the process is. And so when you're organizing, for this example, we have introduction. You're going to kind of give your mission and values, which you've already done that in a previous step.
Right.
You're going to put that in on the front end.
So we already got that.
Then you want to make sure that you create and upload your designs, or what is the design process? Write out what that is. Then you want to do a step-by-step on how you fulfill your orders.
Okay.
And each process that I've already mentioned, you just want to go through all of those steps: printing and packaging, shipping and delivery, inventory management, customer service. So you've manually organized those into sections.
Right.
And as your business, you may start out with one procedure under those, but over time, you may end up adding more.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
So for me, I also came to mind that training bartenders had to come up with a process for every drink, opening, closing the bar, customer service, how to serve a customer when they sit down at the bar.
Right.
So that just reminded me of that process. Of course, we're using the t-shirt business as an example, but you should be able to break this down and use this for whatever your service or business is.
Absolutely. So then once you've kind of listed everything out, so first off, let's go back. We've brainstormed, right?
Okay.
We've done our brainstorm. After we've brainstormed, then we have organized our content. Once we've organized our content, now we're at the step where we're ready to create step-by-steps for everything, all the content that we've already brainstormed, if that makes sense.
Got you.
All right. So let's just look at one. The one that I'd like to look at is like the order fulfillment process.
Okay.
And so, because you may have multiple people doing that. So with the order fulfillment process, step one, you're going to log in to the online store or the order management system. Step two, you're going to check new orders and review customer details. Step three, you're going to print the customer's order slip and check and double check for accuracy and make sure that everything is correct. One thing people don't like, don't mess up my order. I was triggered just a little bit.
A little bit.
Don't mess up my order.
Oh, goodness
Uber do
gracious.
that.
Yeah.
What is it, DoorDash?
Yeah.
DoorDash, boy, they do that. They are good at making sure that you don't get the right order. And normally it comes from places like, not Chick-fil-A. What's the other place? Dang it. Wendy's. That's
Wendy's.
the one. So you do a late night DoorDash order, which I'm sorry, I'm probably just lazy as hell. I probably should have gotten up and gone to Wendy's to make sure that they got my order right, because all I wanted was some nuggets and fries. But they always forget the sauce. Don't nobody want them dry nuggets?
Not the nuggets without the sauce.
Yeah. Don't nobody want that. And so every single time they mess up my order, they are infamous for not putting the sauce in the bag after I've asked for it.
You know what? That remind me of Taco Bell. You get Taco Bell late night DoorDash, and you don't specifically put sauce on the order. They're gonna bring you all these tacos and shit with no sauce. Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I don't even want it no more.
Dry tacos.
Dry tacos. You crazy no more.
All right, so just to jump back in, step 4, you want to select the correct size and color of the t-shirt from your inventory. Step 5, you want to package the t-shirt using eco-friendly materials and include a thank you card. I love the thank you card. And then step 6, print the shipping label and affix it to the package. 7, drop off the package at the shipping carrier or schedule a pickup. And so those are your steps. That is 7 steps on how to fulfill in order. And I think that that's fairly simple. You're going to do that with every single step that you have. If you go back to, designing the t-shirts, are there specifics that you use, specific things that you do to design the t-shirts? Is it different every single time? Is it something that only one person could do, or is it something that multiple people do? You want to specify whose role it is to do that.
Or what skill level it takes to carry out that process.
Yep. So it's a lot that I mean, it's time consuming, but it
will save you time
on the back end.
On the back end, for sure.
Yeah. You can, if you're using like a software system, having visuals and screenshots is also pretty good too. I think it's very helpful for people to see. Even if you sit and do a side-by-side training, if somebody has what's funny?
No, I was just thinking about like my first job in how they used to come in and watch them training videos. They'd be so boring. And you're a kid, right? You just want to go to work and get a paycheck. Yeah, you're not really fully in tune to that video. Yeah. You don't care, but it's really it's really important.
Hindsight.
Right.
But yes, you want to make sure that you have, if you're doing a side by side, you get that one-on-one, training. But then if you aren't there, or the trainer is not there, and another person, or they have to do it on their own and they don't understand, they have visuals and screenshots that they can use. I think a flip book is good. I also think that, a screenshot where it's digital, where they can see it and they can kind of do a side by side and kind of follow along as they're actually doing it online is good as well.
Those type of visual trainings are gold. For people that are visual learners, you have different type of learners that's going to come in, that you're going to hire to come into your business. Having just a few different types of training manuals, visual, written, that can also help in this process.
Yep, because you have visual learners, auditory learners, and I think it's kinesthetic.
Right, and that's the people that have to do it, right?
Yep.
Gotcha.
And so I think that's really good for people to be able to have different ways to learn. Especially, I love adult learning materials. Like, you want to make sure that it's not something that's going to bore people. I think that you should have diverse things that you can use to teach and train people.
Right.
Also, I think another very important thing is when you're building out your training manual, you want to make sure that you're not using like certain jargon that is not that they don't understand yet. I know that there was a company that I worked for. We had all of these acronyms. We had acronyms for all these different things. Like I think one lady at one point, she said, I heard all of these acronyms when I first started, and I just started jotting them down, and I made a whole list of all of them just so that I could have them, because I couldn't keep up. And so it's very important to make sure that if you're using any type of jargon, you have a way to specify what it is and what it means.
Right. Because
some people use certain jargons in one business and it can mean something completely different in another.
Absolutely.
So. All right. Another point is to make sure that you think about how to troubleshoot. I think that's really important. You want to make sure that when you list out all of your step-by-step guides, if you've had in the past, if you've had something that has gone wrong, how did you troubleshoot to resolve that issue? Did you have to call if this happens, should you call customer service?
Right.
If this happens, do you go through these steps in order to resolve it? Because it's something that you can do yourself. Should you just call your boss so that you don't delete everything out of the system? There's very important steps that you've got to take to make sure that you have troubleshooting guides as well.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But it's super important. And especially after like you, the person starting the business, you're going to learn so many different things. It's good to go ahead and put that into that training manual for future reference for other people.
Yeah. What about defining roles? Like making a determination on what role does what. Like, I think that that's important. If you have a t-shirt business, I think you know, like we said, if someone is designing, everybody may not be qualified to do the designing.
Right.
But everybody could come in and potentially do a fulfillment order. And so you want to make sure that you define those roles, who should be doing that and who should not be doing that.
Right.
Because they could potentially mess up something. So who handles packages? If let's think about it. I have another business example. What if it is a restaurant and they have a bar? If you have people who are underage, they can't work behind the bar. Can they serve drinks?
They can serve drinks, but they can't go behind the bar, make drinks or anything like that.
So
the drink has to be prepared by the bartender and set in a location where they can actually come
retrieve it.
Yeah.
Okay. See, things like that you got to think about. So each business is different. And I just really wanted to bring that up because there are certain things that you can and cannot do based on, you know, what the role is and age limit, that kind of thing. Also, let's talk about health and safety. I don't think I will be honest, to this day, don't have any health and safety guidelines that I put together for my bail bond business because I'm not gonna lie, there were some safety issues that may have come about that I never thought about until I actually had to restrain people in the office. There have been times when, you know, family members have gotten into arguments, and that kind of thing.
Got a little jiggy in the office.
So the goal is not to, you know, think about what's the worst thing that could happen, but you want to be prepared for that. I mean, just think about it. I'm a woman, and I'm running a bail bond business. I've had creepy people come in. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If I get a call, I'm going.
You ever had to tase somebody or something?
No. I've never had to actually tase anybody, but I did have a bounty hunter on my payroll, and so I let him kind of handle those kinds of things. Right. But I did keep one. Just never had to use it.
Really?
Never had to use it. I have had people have disagreements and in the office, went outside, had a fight, and come back in. Wild. So
bail bonding is nuts.
It can get crazy. I mean, just think about it. It's a person goes to jail. Yeah. And he or she has 2 girlfriends, 2 boyfriends, whatever, and they all, you know, they're all coming to get this person out. Hey, call Courtney. You know, they show up. It could turn into something like that. I mean, that's not what we want to happen. Right. But it has happened. And so I wasn't prepared for that. Right. How would I resolve that? I didn't have anything in place to resolve it. I was just like, hey, I got to take that up out of here. You're going to tear up my office.
Oh, my goodness.
And so you do have to be prepared for anything with safety. In this particular example for the t-shirt business, heat press. You're using a heat press. You're handling. You could be potentially handling chemicals if you're using like a ink machine, or you know, you're doing, what is it called? Print. What is the printing thing?
The thing you was telling me about.
I can't think of it right now.
I don't know what it's called either. Someone asked me because you just told
me. Screen
that.
Printing. That's it. You use a lot of chemicals in that, and so you have to be prepared for that. There's probably some OSHA regulations and things that you have to be aware of if you have a larger scale business and you're doing that.
Some just come to mind when we're talking about this process and this t-shirt business, for example. When building this training manual, just think about if you wanted a kid to comprehend it. You know, this t-shirt business is very well a business that a child is probably doing right now. You know, and they're going to have a process for fulfilling the order, for creating that t-shirt, and handling these the heat press and the dangerous aspects of the business. but you want to be able to put that training manual together and simple enough for a child to
Simplified. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And then I also think that in training, you also should have quizzes, a checklist. You
Yeah.
should have things that kind of reinforce the learning
Yeah.
when you have finished a certain, once you've gone to a certain point. So I wouldn't dare try to overwhelm somebody with all of these different things to learn. Like there's a
Right.
process.
Right.
In one of my previous jobs, we definitely had a training program. And I think that that's good. And you should get feedback from the person who's being trained and the
Right.
person that's training. Like everybody
Absolutely.
gives feedback so that we know that you're secure in the information that you're learning and that's being presented to you. And you feel comfortable to go out and do that job that they
As a
hired you
matter
for.
of fact, a good training program is going to have those three aspects of learning.
Yeah.
They're going to have you do something. They're going to have to watch something, and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have to hear something.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. And then you review and test the manual. You want to see if it's working, and if it's not working, or if the steps aren't aligned properly, you may have to go in and make adjustments. It may work for now, but over time you may have to make the adjustments to it. I think that it's imperative that you look at it quarterly.
How would you test that manual? Would you just have someone come in and go through the process and you tell them nothing, or I mean, how would you
In
go
a
about
in a personal business, if I were using this particular business, yes,
it?
I would have somebody that doesn't work there,
Mm-hmm.
a friend, somebody.
Right.
Just look at it and kind of go through the process and get feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can have your new person utilize that manual, look at it, and if you've got somebody working for you, test it and see if they can follow it. Because here's my thing, you've got to kind of poke holes in you may understand it. I
Right.
wrote it and I understand it, but can somebody else understand it?
Right.
And that's really important. And
It
I've
is.
been in that position where I have written things and it's not completely clear, and so we have to go back and refine that, and that's okay. You just want to make sure that you try to make it as clear as possible.
Right. Proper instructions.
And keep it updated. When you make change, make a
Right.
change right then. Don't let it go 6 months to a year and you haven't made updates and you're like, we don't even do it like that no more.
Right.
You have to keep it updated. This is something that's constant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you do that. Create a digital version. This is optional. But I think that is also very important as well.
Yeah.
So that, in my opinion, and I think I said this a little earlier, have a side by side. There's a way to you've got two screens in front of you. You've got the manual there for that newbie that's learning how to go through this process, and they can follow the steps. And if it's a computer software that they're using, they can follow those steps on one screen and do it on the other. Or if they are, actually they just need it up on the screen as they're actually navigating through, in this particular example, being able to keep those instructions on the screen as they go through it so that they don't have all that clutter around them while they're fulfilling those orders.
Right.
So, do you have any other thoughts or scenarios that you'd like to bring up?
No, I just, again, it's a very tedious process, but also try to keep it simplified. One thing they used to say in the Army, I don't know about today, that was almost 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I got out the military. Everything is dummy proof.
Okay.
Just boom, boom, boom. This is it. Like anybody can pick up
and should be able to do it.
And be able to use it.
I agree. One of the things, I think that a question may come up with, well, how do I create this? You can use a Word document, you can use Canva, you can use PowerPoint and make it cute. There's so many different systems that you can use. There are a lot of free resources out there that you can use, but there are also resources that may be, if you're wanting to spend some money, that may cost for you to use those to create these
training manuals.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem.
Create the training manual.
That's the only thing we've been talking about is training
manuals. Yeah. How do you not know? All right. It's all good. Use simple language. Provide FAQs. Create a checklist.
Yep.
I think those are important too. FAQs are good. I we used to create guidelines, and when we create the guidelines, at the bottom of the guideline, we have an FAQ.
Mm-hmm.
Things that could possibly happen. It could change, and we could be completely off course with, the questions that may come up. But general questions that may come up with this particular guideline, we had FAQs at the bottom. And so I think that is super important.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I have for this segment. I think that we can move on to our business struggles.
Okay.
So with the business struggles, I'd like to ask a question.
Ask away.
What are some business struggles that you've experienced without this step being completed?
Man, tell you what, just like with bartending, you will have drinks poured a million different type of ways,
Mm-hmm.
and customers know the difference in their drink.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna let you know right away. And
I do.
oh yeah, I know. Love that lavender. And
Sidecar.
yeah, that lavender sidecar. That's a good one. But if you don't pour it precisely, like many drinks, it's not going to have the same anything to it. It's going to be something completely different, and the customer is going to let you know. So it was very important to have every ounce weighed out on those drinks to have it perfect. And also even the cleaning process. If you don't have a proper training manual for the cleaning process, you're going to have a nasty restaurant. You're going to have the fruit flies and just things that need to be taken care of on a daily basis. So yeah, stuff you don't want.
Let me ask you this. When I had a question. That was a good one too.
Oh yeah, we've had to come back to it. Have you built out a training manual that you had to refine?
Yes.
Yes, and how did that process go?
Well, at one, it's constant,
Mm-hmm.
and it really depends on your process. So if you are in a industry where you have people going out and in the field doing inspections or anything like that, depending on what your responsibilities are, that could change. If the inspection process changes, that would change. If the rules change, that could change. And so there's a lot of different things that would cause you to have to go in and refine your standard operating procedures. Same for, not as much with bail bonds, but if you're thinking about like a t-shirt business or something like that, you're always going to have to, if you're making any changes with any systems, software, equipment, there's always going to be changes that need to be made. And so, yes, I've had to do that several times. And, you just have to, you either make, an addendum to what you already have in place, or, you replace it with a completely new guideline.
Okay.
So, it's not, and it's really not hard to do. Once you start doing, when you do the initial, I think the initial lift is pretty
heavy.
rough and heavy, yes. Yeah. But over time, as you're just continuously just updating, it becomes easier, and I think it just becomes just something that you just know to do. Okay, I've got to do this in order to keep everything flowing. And in order for everybody to be efficient, and in order to not have 10 million questions coming in, we have to make sure that all of these things are constantly updated and that they're correct. So, yes, there's been a lot of that. There's also been times when there was nothing at all. And when you don't have anything at all, it's rough. It is rough. I do remember having to sit down with a lady and just really build everything out. And I had built things out prior to her coming on to work for me, but I had to really just kind of refine it and make updates because I wasn't doing things the way that I thought that I was. Well, I guess it didn't make sense. And she also came with, my thing is, my idea or my way of doing things may not be the best way.
Right.
I'm open to hearing what it is what your thoughts are. You might have a more efficient way of doing things. And we sat down. This is when I had my bail bond agency. She came and sat down and we talked about things, and she was like, oh, well, Miss Courtney, I can do this a little bit easier. And I was like, okay, well, let's make those adjustments. And we did, and it worked out great. So, you want to be open to feedback from the people who are actually using these processes.
Absolutely. That's probably one of the best places to refine your training manual is people that come from outside and implement the process that you've been doing, and they just see things differently.
And it's good because you think that when you put that together, you put your stank on it. That was yours,
right.
But you also can't be married to it because it only makes you better. And so anytime that anybody says anything, you don't take it, you try not to take it personal. Sometimes it does cut a little.
It does.
But you don't want to take it personal, and you don't want people to be like, well, my way is better. And I had to think about that because I had to think about how I wanted to say it.
Right.
My way is better than your way. It's more or less. I think that this would help, and I think that that's where people get offended because people don't. The delivery is wrong, and so if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I think that there's another way that we could do this," I'm open to it. But if you come in and say, "Nah, you're doing this wrong," I'm not going to.
Also, on the other end of that, too, you have to know your process well enough to know that when it's not broke, not to fix it. Yeah. People can make suggestions, but at the same time, this is your process.
Yeah, you don't want to just keep changing processes just because somebody said that this is the way to do it. If it's efficient and it's working, then let's do this for 6 to 9 months.
Right.
And let's see, or I'm sorry, 60 to 90 days and see if that works. At that quarterly mark, let's look at it and say, hey, is this still working? Is there anything that we need to change? And then as the longer that you've been open and operating, it may not be quarterly. It may be, every 6 months or so that you need to reevaluate. But I think it's important to just look at it and just review it and just see if there's something that you could do to make changes.
Right.
So that's all I have on that. You have any other thoughts on business struggles?
No.
I went a little sharp there. Struggles?
We can what are our action items for today?
I think that with this, actionable advice is going to be to go back and look at your business again, doing an assessment and determine everything that you need to complete the job. Make sure that you have all your equipment. Make sure that you have the software that you need. Make sure that if you have t-shirts, where are you going to store these t-shirts? You have to make sure that you have all of these things written down. Scott and John made a very good point. If you're asking for, if you're needing funding, you got to lay all of this stuff out.
Right.
Because you can't go back later.
Right.
So you want to lay all of that out. Ask for everything that you need up front. Poke as many holes. Write out your manual. Poke as many holes in it as possible. I'd have somebody, a teenager or somebody look at it just to see if they could do it. If it's simplified enough.
Right.
Have them look at it, see if it's something that they can do. Create a rough draft of that training manual, and then kind of wrap it up.
Yep. Go from there.
Yep. Get ready for the next step. Like I said, you've got the basis written out, and you can always refine it.
Yep.
And so I think that in saying that, I think that everybody is going to leave here today and go try this, and then they may come back with questions. And if you do come back with questions, then we want to go ahead and have you go to turtlesmith.com, where you can get more information or more details on this step.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we don't claim to know everything. We're just a group of people navigating our way through some of the steps that we may have missed when we were trying to start a business. So,
Hmm.
with that being said, thank you all for joining us, and it's been real.
See you next time.